Hold your hand if there's up in the air, if there's a chair unoccupied near you. Otherwise, standing room only. Good morning. I'm glad you could all come out. We live in very important times. We had a meeting of the Tompkins County Democratic Committee the other night, and at the beginning of each year, I talk to the committee because I'm Irene Stein, the chair, and I talk to them about what happened the previous year and what we have to look forward to this year. And it's usually pretty straightforward and not exciting. This year is a different story all the way around. The context in which we operate, Tompkins County Democratic Committee, in which we're all living, has changed remarkably. We continue to live under the existential threats of global warming and of nuclear war. We also have our context augmented by the rise of terrorism. Put that together with the issues, the specific issues that are coming up now as we speak, issues that ignore the history of the Democratic Party in responding to the needs of all people in the country. We see the attacks coming up on Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare, and not to mention Social Security. So, sitting over all this, we have a man known for unpredictability and quick to respond to personal slights. So it's not a good situation. Normally, our committee concerns itself heavily with finding people to run at the local level and also at the higher levels all the way up through president. This year is a year of local races, but it can't be an ordinary year of local races. Local races are very important, but this year the importance is exaggerated by the fact that we need in every county committee across the country that's Democratic or progressive to become very, very strong, very active, a force that not only will resound and respond to bad ideas this year of local races, but will be building towards the future, and especially the near future, with our next attempt to have a change Congress. So don't despair, because while the path isn't clear, we're going to find the path. And one of the little steps to that, we may have more of these, who knows, is a broad public meeting, because we're not used to dealing in this context. We need help. What are your ideas? So I'm going to turn this over to Krys Cail, who is chair of our Issues Committee, to make a few words, to say a few words, and perhaps illuminate a little bit about how the county committee operates in this time. Thank you all for coming. Krys Cail.
Hi. So one of the things that we've really seen as Donald Trump has taken over is, honestly, a lack of respect for some of the long-term approaches to government by law that we're used to. He's signing executive orders about things that really typically are done in the Congress and so on. One of the things about organizing is that it's going to be really important that we be effective and efficient. And in order to be effective and efficient, I think one of the things that we can do is to continually stress that the very structure of democracy is important to maintain. So for instance, rather than having the Russians affect our elections, it might make sense for us to follow election law, which doesn't mean we don't change it, but then if we change it through the rule of law, right? So something a lot of folks might not realize is that the Tompkins County Democratic Committee is something that is organized under state election law. So the folks who are in your ward and town committees were structured with sort of by election district or by ward. And those people are actually governed by state election law. When I'm going to be a member of my Town of Ulysses committee, I go to my neighbors and I pass a petition and I get the approval of some of the voters to act in that capacity. That makes it more difficult for a Russian spy to do it, right? So when we do this, we then have a structure in which the Democrats can and do organize. There are members of these town and ward committees who are then in turn members of the county committee, and the county committee has certain responsibilities, including making sure that we have free and fair elections, as does the local ward committee. So one of the things that's really good if you want to get active is to be in touch with that representative at your most local level, because they have work for you to do if you would like to do that. The other thing that happens is we do listen to people who are organized differently, whether that's the Tompkins County Progressives, with whom we just coordinated to run an event on Obamacare a couple of weeks ago, or other groups, other organizations. As the Issues Committee, what our Issues Committee has in the past typically done is to focus educational information directly on our most active volunteers, our county committee members, and our elected officials, because it's really easy to have opinions without facts. It's more effective to have opinions with facts. So that's sort of what we have traditionally done in the past. We are, however, all involved at the county committee in this effort to have a strategic plan of how we're going to deal with this very dire situation. And we're really, really interested to hear your input and your ideas. Now, that said, please recognize everyone who serves on the committee is a volunteer. No one's paid. There aren't special advantages to doing it. So if we could all try to be respectful, and frankly, that's pretty true for people who are serving as elected officials on the local level too. They may be paid a little, they're not paid a lot. So if we can all try to be respectful and understanding that the best way to manage volunteers is to help pitch in and have good ideas, as opposed to criticize and say the volunteer hasn't been doing their job well enough, then I think we'll be setting a great tone for today. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Kirby Edmonds. I'm a resident of Ithaca, but live out on West Hill, and I'm supposed to be managing this process. So a couple things. One is, are there any media in the room? People from the press? Could you just identify yourself so people know who you are?
Yeah, I'm not told
Ithaca Times, and over here?
WRFI.
WRFI, okay.
Back here.
I'm trying to
Okay.
Repeat.
Cornell Daily Sun. So the proceedings will...
Hi, Kelsey, it's the voice.
Ithaca Voice, okay. So you know who's in the room. Proceedings will be recorded. This is a listening session, which means it's not a conversation. So here's what we're going to do. How many people know they want to say something? Okay, we may be out of here before noon. So the idea was that people would have 2 minutes to speak. I'm going to ask people to line up, have people in the front of the line have a mic, and when you're done with your 2 minutes, hand the mic back to the person behind you. We have 3 or 4 different timers, so you will definitely know when your 2 minutes is up. And my job is to get you to stop talking so the next person can have a turn. If we actually get through with the number of people who want to speak before then, we may do something else because we've got till noon, we've got the room till noon. If you have remarks that you want to make but don't want to speak, there are cards back there on that table. You can write ideas down there. If you brought written remarks at the end, you can give them to Irene or Kathy. Irene's here, you know her. Kathy, you want to raise your hands at people? Are you here?
Down the hall.
Down the hall, okay. So I'm just going to suggest that we line up. Whoever knows they want to speak, well, one line down this row and one line down here. All right.
Which head do you want us to line over?
One line going down the aisle, one line going down here. Go.
Just testing mic.
So if you could just say your name and your town of residence and then your remarks, that'd be great.
Ronny Hardaway from the Village of Lansing. The core of our nation is a representative government that should be elected by people from every walk of life, from our poorest citizen to our wealthiest citizen. The strength of our laws comes from the voices of voters speaking through their elected legislators. Our public and private aspirations should be guided by leaders who are elected to raise people up rather than suppress them. Public trust in elections is the mortar that binds and stabilizes our democracy from one election cycle to the next. However, a large portion of our citizens have lost confidence in that electoral mortar. They do not vote, or they are discouraged from voting by repressive registration hurdles, by inaccessible polling locations, by unacceptably long voting lines, and by real or perceived election fraud. I ask that the Democratic Party address election reform at every electoral level. Please communicate to the National Committee that we need to expand and expedite voter registration to all citizens, improve and increase voter education on issues and candidates, end voter suppression and intimidation, increase the number of polling locations, and make them accessible to every voter. Standardize and simplify voting ballots, ensure objective and accountable auditing of votes, foster transparent reporting of election results, and finally, if election fraud is suspected, fully investigate and prosecute voters or voting officials who commit such fraud or electoral theft. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me? It's on. Okay. Hi, my name is Will Burbank, and I wear several hats, as do all of you. I'm on the county legislature, but today I'm speaking as an individual who also listens to radio. And for the past 12 years, I've had the pleasure of listening to station WNYY, which has broadcast a pretty good sampling of progressive talk radio, people like Tom Hartman. As you may or may not have heard, that station is going to be flipping its format as of February 1. All of the progressive talk is gone, and in its place will be golden oldies, which I'm sure everybody in this room has just been feeling there's a crying need for.
We are.
Thank you. Information is power, and the right has successfully harnessed the power of talk radio to basically set the ideological territory that ultimately led to something like Trump. I would very much like to hear from any of you who want to see if there's something that can be done. I think it's probably too late to change what's happening on WNYY, but maybe not if enough people speak out. The only good little crumb is that the Tom Hartman show will be moving to our wonderful community radio station, WRFI, so you will be able to get 2 hours a day of his programming. That's good, but it's not nearly enough because literally for about 20 hours a day you'll be hearing the likes of Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, et cetera, over on their WHCU. So again, if you're interested in helping with trying to do something, my contact information is on the county website. My name is Will Burbank. I'm in the phone book. I actually have an old phone. So. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Deborah Dawson. I live in Lansing. Sorry about my voice. I've been a Democrat all my life. I was raised on the New Deal. I came of age in the Great Society. I believe that there is no justice without economic justice, and there can be no economic justice in a social and political system that's designed to deny many of its citizens equal and affordable access to decent housing, nutrition, health care, education, and a job that pays a living wage. That's the system that we now have. And it's clear that at least on the state and national levels, our Democratic leadership has been complicit in creating and maintaining that system. So our local Democratic committee is my last hope. If we're going to rebuild the party of FDR, we need to start here. Please, let's recommit ourselves to our party's core historical constituencies: labor, the poor, the working class, the middle class, and minorities, including our LGBTQ community. Let's deal with the bread and butter issues that drive those people's everyday lives. Let's defend the ACA while we fight for single payer. Let's fight tooth and nail to defend Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Let's impose a local labor requirement on contractors who work on publicly funded and subsidized local projects. Let's reserve CTAP, TCAT, and IDA subsidies and incentives for small local businesses who really need them, instead of giving them to Cargill, big hotel chains, and Texas developers. Let's create a task force to deal with the property tax structure in our county. Perhaps we could figure out creative ways to get Cornell and Ithaca College and Cayuga Medical to contribute more to our community in dollars or in services that we would otherwise have to pay for.
4 seconds.
Okay. Let's spearhead a movement against Albany's unfunded mandates, which account for 62% of our county's property taxes. Start calling out Governor Cuomo loudly and often on his budget BS. Thank you.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Russ Friedell. I live up here on the South Hill in the city of Ithaca. I just want to say first up, I love that the process still works and that all of us are here concerned with a piece to say and take this to where it needs to go. Very simply put, I really believe that the Tompkins County Democrats moving forward here, there are a couple of very simple things. She pretty much hit everything that was on my list. So I'll keep it really simple.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Moving forward, we must protest at every turn anything that is very visibly against our rights. But in addition to that, we must create a very simple, cohesive, and inclusive message and focus on everyone, including those of us working. We must educate and engage. We must modernize and not be any sort of reactionary-based policy, but rather what we all believe in, how we want this country to run moving forward, and give people something to believe in and get behind instead of oppose, because united we stand and divided we fall. The last thing that no one has mentioned yet is we must pay attention to Tom Reed and visibly... I strongly believe the Tompkins County Democrats should visibly protest anything that he is standing for, verbally saying at really any turn. So.
My name's Laura Lewis. I live in the city of Ithaca. I chair the 5th Ward Democratic Committee and actually chair the city ward committees. But I'm here to read a statement from Leslie Danksberg, who wishes she could be here, but she has decided to meet with another group this morning. So this is Leslie's statement to the group this morning. I'm so happy the committee is hosting a listening meeting to hear ideas for 2017. As your endorsed candidate for state senate in 2016, it warmed my heart that my Tompkins County home supported my campaign so enthusiastically. I regret that I'm not with you this morning. Many of us are disappointed at the 2016 outcome, and we have a lot of work to do to build. This starts at the grassroots with 2017 local races. Hundreds of town, city, and county seats that affect our daily lives will be up this year. I want you to know that the only reason I'm not with you this morning is because I was asked to join 2 other events in 2 neighboring counties to help them start rebuilding as well. Not being here this morning was a tough decision for me. Openness to listening carefully and respectfully to all perspectives is one of my core values. I've decided that I can give back to this beautiful region that supported me by sharing the knowledge and foundation that our campaign built. In a district with only 32% Democrats, our race achieved 45% of the vote. I still lost, of course. Still, few Democrats achieved 13 points over the base registration last year. I feel an obligation to share any insight that I can with others who might build on that for 2017. So, I'm with you in spirit, even if I visit other counties this morning. I applaud the conversation you will have. My call to action for you is that you take every opportunity to act local. Republicans modeled the local focus in the 1990s, and they were able to control redistricting in 2000 and again in 2010. Anyone who cares about future presidential races should buckle down and work for a town board candidate in 2017. If you live in a place where Democrats tend to run unopposed, don't sit back. Ask the Democratic Committee to recommend a nearby town that needs your volunteer help. Give me a call, says Leslie, and come with me to help local candidates with whatever they ask for to win. Many of you have Leslie's email address, and my phone number is publicly listed. Ann Sullivan is also here today as a representative of my campaign, and she can put you in touch with me as well. Thank you for gathering, and thank you again to all of you who supported my race in 2016. From Leslie Danks-Burke.
I've tried to edit this down. I'm John Hertzler. I'm on the Ulysses Town Board. Can you hear me without this? No. The attachment was sent out by Congressman Nadler is a perfect example of the mistakes our Democratic Party continues to make. We take 3,000 words to say what should be said in 5 bumper stickers. Trump was able to motivate low information voters by the millions. Not by sending out emails with 6 pages explaining tactics, but by reducing such tactics to emotionally accessible arguments. Crooked Hillary, drain the swamp, repeal and replace, lock her up, make America great again. And what did we have? Stronger together. There's not even an actionable verb in that call to action. I was very sorry to see John Plum lose to smiling villain Tom Reed. Reed successfully is on both sides of every issue, every time, every bill that he votes on in Congress. A quote, "Yes, I supported that action, but I must tell you, my heart was full of doubt as to the unseen effects of my vote." He is on both sides of whatever issue is being discussed. But did anyone point this out continually during the John Plum campaign? If it was, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it on the radio. The fact that Tom Two-Face Reed did it again and again and again should have been brought out stronger. But do we have to get, well, we do have to get smarter in the 23rd District. John Plum was the perfect candidate, demographically. Jamestown, he was born in Jamestown, at the heart of rural western New York. Ex-Navy, submariner, a warrior for peace, a warrior for the common man, a man of the people, a truth teller, a man of proven integrity, a man who speaks his mind, come hell or high water, a fighter for the people, a fighter for the truth, a fighter for the future of New York, a fighter for jobs, and on and on and on and on. And if these things were being printed and stated, I never heard them. And if I'm wrong about this again, I'm sorry, but we should have won with John Plum. Just 4 more sentences. There is much good in the lengthy strategy paper sent out by Jerry Nadler, except that it's lengthy, overly verbose, and boring. We must look at all our communication for emotional and actionable accessibility for the public. Empower our words, shorten our messages, and reach for the heart.
I'm Joe Lawrence. I'm from the city of Ithaca. I want to speak for a moment on the wage and income crisis in this community. We have an obscene income inequality situation here. It's a silent shame in this otherwise genteel community, and it needs to be addressed. We need to not only get a true living wage through not just Cuomo's outstate formula. We're talking the true living wages in this community is $14.34 or so. let's be clear, Cuomo's is $12.50 by 2020. That doesn't work in a community with this kind of cost of living. It doesn't work now. So we have to continue this fight, and it is a fight going on for a true living wage. I want to single out, I just don't want to be chewing out people, I want to single out the 100 certified living wage employers in this community. We hear a lot of talk about the resistance. These people are actually the resistance to the economic illness that's affecting this country, affecting this community, and stopping this race to the bottom that our working class are caught in. Now, but beyond the living wage, our public policy, that means
30 seconds.
Our apparatus here, political apparatus, particularly on development projects, needs to require local labor at decent wages, meaning living wages. I talked to, this past year, electricians, skilled tradesmen who worry about losing their house. This is baloney. And finally, I just want to call out this shrug the shoulders, what can we do attitude, this excuse-mongering from too many of our leaders. We have to forge ahead. We have to be cognizant of the winds that blew through this country. They're blowing here in Tompkins County. So if you're not committed to doing the right thing because it's right, do it for political survival. And I just want to close with saying we need to square our shoulders on these issues, and we need to start dealing more directly with the labor movement, and if we're serious about this.
Hi folks, my name is Martha Robertson. I'm from the town of Dryden, and like Will Burbank, have one of my hats is thank you, Tompkins County legislator. And I want to agree with what Will said. You know, Bernie Sanders, I think, would not have had any traction except that he was on Tom Hartman every week for years. So public radio is awesome. I love RFI, but we're going to reach different people, and we need to reach different people. So WHCU's phone number is 607-257-6400. That's 257-6400. Call and let them know you want to see Progressive Radio stay on NYY. It's fantastic to see so many people here. I want to remind everybody, you probably realize, but you know, democracy is, again, as Tom Hartman says, not a spectator sport. We're going to have to do more than sign on petitions and post on Facebook. You have to show up at the boring meetings, at the Thursday night, you really would rather do something else. We need, and this is why the Democratic Committee is asking for your involvement. We need you to actually help do the work. So, but I want you also to not just look at local and federal. I want you to pay attention to state issues. We have terrible, terrible issues in New York State. And Barbara Lifton's here, that's fantastic. I'm calling, we're gonna, as a county, we're calling on the state of New York to take over Medicaid, as this is gonna be our plan for Governor Cuomo's latest attack on county governments. We're gonna fight back and say that Medicaid is the way you're gonna consolidate and cut property taxes. So, I also wanna say, it's great to see so many folks here, but look how old and white we are, I'm sorry. The women's march, the buses, the people down there, so diverse, so young. I was so delighted that so many folks had never done this before. So we have to reach out more broadly than our comfort zone. If this is our comfort zone, let's talk to all of our neighbors and truly get everybody involved. So thanks very much.
I'm Ann Sullivan. I'm a resident of the city of Ithaca, and I also recently joined Indivisible of the Southern Tier and Finger Lakes, a grassroots organization that's working hard to elect local candidates and to take back the 23rd district from Tom Reed. I also, and I have to thank them, the grandparents of immigrants who left the country because they knew that their children could not have full civil rights. They were Catholics, and the country was Ireland. So what's happening now is incredibly important to me, and I shudder to think what my life would have been if my grandparents had been turned back from Boston. So let's remember that. Two things I just want to mention. Next Wednesday at 6 p.m. and the Tuesday after at 5:30 p.m., the Tompkins County first the Ithaca Common Council and then the Tompkins County Legislature will be voting on a resolution to officially inform our federal representatives not to repeal the ACA without replacing with something better. We all know what something better is. Please call them or email them if you want the information, see me, and please think about showing up. Showing up is important. Then I want to talk about something practical. I was volunteer coordinator for grassroots messaging for Leslie Danks Burke. I implore our local committee to adopt 21st technology. We cannot fight 21st century authoritarianism with 20th century tools. One reason why we were so successful with Leslie is that we, and I'm a 69-year-old woman, so age is no excuse, I could access a van. We had a tremendous letter to the editor writing appeal, which was done because I am comfortable with technology. We need to urge our county and to help them move away from paper stamps and pencils and take advantages of the tools that the Tea Party used to be so successful. So, Irene, I hope you listen to this, and I hope that the people among us who are technically adept volunteer to do this, because without it, we are literally working on one hand and with one leg tied up, because it simply can't work. They're faster, quicker, and more adept than us, and there's no excuse. We have to do it.
My name is Dave Bradley from the village and town of Dryden, and this is a little tale about how we basically need to learn from our mistakes so that we don't keep on repeating them over and over again. So there's two messages. One of them is there's 30 copies of the book, The New Jim Crow by Professor Michelle Alexander in the front lobby of the library. If you haven't read it already, read it. It's not a pleasant read, but it's something that has to be done. In 2008, when the Dems swept to power nationally, one of the many things they did was they enhanced the production tax credit for wind turbines for 4 years instead of its usual 1 to 2 years. There was talk that they would do it for 10 years, but you can't politically shake down the wind business for contributions if you extend the production tax credit for 10 years. And cynical though that may be, that was probably the reason why it wasn't done for 10 years. Unfortunately, shortly after 2010, the Republicans took control, and in 2012, the wind business basically came to a grinding halt when the production tax credit was exterminated by the Republicans as a form of legislative hostage-taking. In 2012, there was $28 billion worth of wind turbines installed, and they were increasing at a rate of 100% per year. So the question is, what if this rate of increase was allowed to occur versus what did? Because right now there's only 80 gigawatts of wind turbines installed, only 160 billion in investment, and only 6% of our electricity is made that way. If the production tax credit had gone for 10 years, there would be 330 gigawatts of wind turbine capacity installed. You'd have 30% of our electricity made from wind. There'd be 800,000 people employed instead of 100,000 people employed. And basically, you would probably not have Donald Trump as president, who, by the way, hates wind energy with a passion. So the lesson is, right now we have in the Democratic Party a struggle for the leadership. We have the remnants of the old New Dem, conservative, somewhat corrupted leadership, and the alternative is Keith Ellison. So I would urge you to push upwards and to get Keith Ellison put in as head of the DNC.
Hello, my name is Emily Adams. I'm from the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party. I was a delegate for Bernie, and I helped start Tompkins County Progressives. I realize that many people in this room were Hillary supporters, and that's okay. I think we can all agree, Bernie supporters and Hillary supporters, that our elected Republicans in Congress and Donald Trump are worse than deplorable. They want to repeal the ACA, but they have no plan to replace it. They don't believe in climate change. They think government is evil. They are intellectually and morally bankrupt. They have no good ideas. Now, the Democratic Party has ideas. We have policies and 10-step plans. We believe in science. We care about women and children and people of color, and we can speak in long grammatically correct sentences. However, and this statement might be a bit controversial, I believe the Democratic Party has lost its soul. Back in FDR's day, we had a message. We were about standing up for the little guy against greedy corporations and billionaires. But somewhere along the line, we sold our soul to the devil, or to Wall Street, whichever you want to call it.
Same difference.
Same difference. Until we find our soul again, many voters are going to look at us and say, you elitist liberals in your ivory towers, you think you know everything. You look down your noses at us. But guess what? We don't really like Trump, but screw you, we are going to vote for him anyway. Many Democrats can't understand how someone could do this, vote out of frustration and anger for a candidate with no ideas and no moral compass. But it happened. And I'm sorry I have to say this, but Bernie supporters saw it coming. And I predict it will keep on coming unless the Democratic Party does some deep soul searching. I truly hope that the establishment wing of the Democratic Party will reach out to progressives and really welcome them and ask for their input. And I hope that progressives will give the Democratic Party another chance. Together, we just might be able to turn things around.
Hello, my name is Lisa Kellmurray. I live right downtown, North Side. Represent. And I administer a very small Facebook page of Friends of the Advocacy Center, which some of you might have seen recently. So if any of you are supporters of the agency in town that deals with sexual assault, sexual abuse, stalking, domestic violence, come on by, like the page. We were asked to give some specific suggestions, and I am a very specific, practical person. So, we need to get rid of Tom Reed. How do we do that? Not here, and not in this room. No. I've lived here long enough, I've had enough friends from Myra to know what they think of us, how they feel of us. I've been told that if you go to a town meeting and you're from Elmira and you say anything that questions him, they yell, go back to Ithaca. Yeah. For people who are retired and live there.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to be out of this room and we need to be traveling and setting up listening stations, talking. I will do this. I will do this. I grew up in upstate New York. I can talk hunting. I know what is a jackadeer. We need to be out of this room and sitting in communities, tell them we're coming. We're here to listen. We're here to talk. We're here to make connections. There are people that are feeling so alone in these communities. I know because I grew up in one. And we can reach out and talk to them. And we can make some connections and we can find some people. There are people there who probably don't even need, I won't say we can mentor, but how patronizing is that? They don't need it. They just need a little help. And it's not going to happen here. It's going to happen in Jamestown. It's going to happen somewhere else. And we need to be there, not here. That's it.
And I and the Tompkins County Progressives, along with the Democratic Party, have already started doing some of that, and I'm going to be continuing doing that myself. I'm Kris Hodges, City of Ithaca. I want to get a show of hands here. How many people have read this book, Listen Liberal? Oh my gosh. Next time I ask that question, I want everyone to raise their hands. This is a must read. This will tell you how we got to where we are right now and how the Democratic Party gave up on its core base of people. In fact, how it's become the party of the 10%. And giving lip service and undermining the rest of us, the 90%. In fact, 25 years ago, Bill Clinton, when he was running for president, started talking about, we're about first generation. We're going to get the first generation of children who are worse off than their parents. You know what?
We're already there, 25 years later. In fact, of the past 25 years, 16 years of that have been under a Democratic president. So we really have to get out and change things. One of the quotes from this book says that the Democrats' posture is the party of the people. They combine self-righteousness and class privilege in a way that Americans find stomach-turning. And every 2 years, they simply assume that being non-Republican is sufficient to rally the voters of the nation to their standard. That's a bunch of nothing. We have to get out there and reclaim and defend and communicate our core principles. These are things that benefit everybody. A sustainable environment, public education, living wage, infrastructure, and importantly, we also have to get the money out of politics, because that is what's causing everything corporations and the lobbyists who represent the corporations. And we need it back to the rest of us. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Robert Messing. I'm from Ithaca, New York. My basic claim to fame is that I've been blocked from Tom Reed's Politician's Facebook page. I know I'm hardly unique. Now, I've come before you with what I admit is a half-baked idea based on incomplete information. It might not even be half-baked, it might only be quarter-baked, and I'm hoping there's somebody here who's smarter than I am, probably most of you in this room, who can maybe bake it a little further. Donald Trump recently came out with an executive order which, from my understanding, will require localities to put together lists of criminal aliens that they will compile, and I think on the surface it sounds like a great idea to be able to ship them all out of this country. It sounds on the surface like a great idea. However, in Germany, the Nazis compiled lists of Jews who had committed crimes, and they used this to demonize Jews, and that's what I'm afraid of. So if the county or the city has to do this, and they may be able to penalty if they don't do this of losing federal funding. I don't know if this is feasible, but not only we should submit lists, but not just having the aliens who have committed crimes on them, but aliens who have done good deeds on them. Redacting those aliens who've done good deeds on for their names. You don't want to actually send in the names, but dilute the list down, and actually include on the list non-aliens, and put the word something like not an alien or an alien, to kind of dilute the list down and make it harder to use. You might want to be a little innovative because, well, there's not much more that I can say in 10 seconds, but that's my half-baked idea.
I'm Theresa Alt. I live in College Town in the city of Ithaca. I want to put forward two ideas. The first, that at the state level, with lots of local help, Democrats, hopefully bringing in the Indy caucus and perhaps some Republicans, should enact statewide single payer. And then we've demonstrated what can replace the ACA. If we put out too much energy defending the ACA while people are having horrible problems with deductibles and co-pays, we only discredit ourselves. We ruin our credibility. Well, healthcare is, I believe, typically the second highest expense that modest income individuals have. Their highest expense in this area is housing. And there, I would urge everybody locally to work on increasing the supply of affordable, livable housing. You can't point to a single, bill that would do that. I think it's got to be tackled many ways. And simply enforcing the housing codes to make some housing that is now unlivable livable is a step that is really pretty conservative. Probably there can be marshaling of private funds with, some public help marshaling them to create housing. Greater weatherization reduces the cost of living in the housing. Ultimately, I think we need state taxes on the wealthy to simply build state public housing.
I'm Jean Senegas, and I live in Fall Creek, and I have some comments about election reform, or just election things in general. If possible, I think not if possible, we need a national holiday for Election Day. And then I have a couple of comments about ID cards. That as long as they are required, there are a lot of people in this country, I think, who do not realize you don't need to know how to drive to get a formal ID, a picture ID from the DMV. And as far as people being able to get those cards, I think it would be great. Well, it still costs money to get that ID card, that non-driver's license ID card. And I'd be in favor of having a local fundraising to help with the cost of those cards for people who would not really be able to afford them. The other thing is that I'd be in favor of organizing people who could drive people to the polls who have a difficult time getting there. Thank you.
I have to say, welcome. Thank you for the turnout. I'm Linda Hoffman. I live in the town of Ithaca. I am the chair of the Town of Ithaca Democratic Committee. I'm going to speak from a place of organizing. First of all, I would like two recommendations to the TCDC. We need to consider putting together a political action committee. A group of people that will work together, one, to troll what's going on with the two Toms, with other things going on the national level, all the town meetings that are going on. How do we write letters? We need to organize and be more collective in how we want to take action. There is a glorious outpouring of groups around our own community. I'm part of one and two of those. But we need to also collaborate. We need to intersect. Our voices can only be heard if we are more in a collective mode and not individually. The other part is recruitment of volunteers. So I was a former volunteer administrator in a major medical center. I'm talking students, interns, people working in operating rooms, but I am of a political bent in my current life. I would like to see the TCDC coordinate and have two people share as a volunteer coordinator group. We do recruitment, we get the word out. We do need to use our website, our Facebook page more effectively. We need to pull people's names. We need to know, what do you want to do? Will you provide transportation to a town meeting? So these are two things that I think are very important as we move forward if we want to be effective to make this serious, significant change. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Serena Savino. My idea is, he said half-baked, mine is like not even half-baked.
This is my first meeting. I marched for the first time last weekend. And it was unbelievably inspiring. I'm here today because Martha stood up at the marchers meeting and told us all about this meeting. I'm a mom, I travel, I work full-time, I have no time for things like this. And there's a lot more of people like me who maybe you're in the room, maybe you're not. I just want to say that I think I agree with what Martha said. I would love to see more people in my generation taking action. I think one of the big things that we're looking for after Saturday in particular is some direction. We all feel despair and we don't really know what to do. Clearly, Facebook petitions, online petitions can only take us so far, but we're looking, we're here, we're, educated people, women, mostly in my circle women, but we need a little bit of direction from those of you who have done the work before. We have our own ideas, but we need some help in sort of figuring out where our perspective can play a part. So I don't know how to make that happen. I'm nowhere near as prepared as the people who've stood up here before, but I think there are other people like me in the room, so I just wanted to be a voice for them.
My name is Cora Ellen Luke, and I'm a citizen of the United States, and I live here in the town of Ithaca. And I want to say thank you to the person who preceded me, because if there's, I too am not a political animal, or haven't been up until this time. One of the few silver linings, if any, of this recent disaster that has befallen us is that I'm a little more awake to the necessity to no longer remain so passive. The following thing I'm about to say, I direct at least as much at myself as at anybody here in this room. And that is, as I was listening to, either reading or listening to probably WRFI, a station I absolutely love, I am paraphrasing here, but I heard a comment that went something like this. When a crisis comes along, the right get in line and the left gets in a circular firing squad. I have not lost, that image has really stuck. And I don't have any answers exactly as to, I'm more of a kind of, I think more about how we do things rather than what we do. And I think whatever we do, it's really important that we not get in that circular firing squad, that we at least listen respectfully to people with whom we differ, whom we may think are either too not left enough or too far to the left or whatever, and at least not treat each other with disdain, with contempt, with put-downs, because that is one of the things that will make people, I think, fall back into passivity, some of them. And then the last, and it seems to me that as I'm echoing what many have said at this point, and that is part of what's important is to figure out what this diverse group of folk somewhat on the left, at least somewhat progressive or liberal, we all like to think of ourselves as independent thinkers, and that's part of why we get in that circular firing squad. But, sorry? Oh, and so the last thing I'll say is that one of the things I think at least many of us could agree upon that I think is at the foundation of what's important for us to be defending now is freedom of religion. Yes. It's hugely at risk. And I would urge the political folk to start talking about religion a little more. Thank you.
It's on. I was trying to turn it off so she could speak.
Somebody over here?
No.
Wait.
Anyone here?
Yeah.
No, that line's button. Play down. It's your turn.
So Yael, are you in line?
Just go. Are you in line? Okay. I'm Harry Stringer. I'm from Enfield. I'm lifetime blue collar. I have 10 years of college. I'm a retired union master carpenter. I'm a local contractor. I've been here 43 years. I registered as a Democrat for the first time in 35 years to vote for Bernie. If Hillary had done anything to get my vote, anything, I would have voted for her. I voted for Stein. I'm currently still a Democrat. I don't know if I will remain. From the left side, the Democrats have destroyed this community. This was a Woolworths. It's shut. It's now a not-for-profit. Rothschild's was over there. It's now a not-for-profit. Harold's Army Navy store was across the street. It's being torn down. They have a tax break. My taxes have gone up 4,000% in the time I've lived here. All right? We have over 200 not-for-profits in this town. Our businesses are collapsing. There is nowhere for the blue collar in this town to shop. My partner just retired, 38 years at Cornell, union painter. This is a woman. She ate a lot of crap to get where she was. 38 years ago in the unions. I am union. I am lifetime left. I am not ashamed of it. The most important vote I ever cast was in Enfield. I went in to pull the lever for president. I could not vote for Mondale. I voted for Angela Davis. And the next day, in the front page of the Ithaca Journal, it said, Communist Party takes foothold in Enfield. All right? Inclusive means you have to reach out to the people that differ from you and accept that you don't agree. I had a ban frack and repeal the SAFE Act sign at the same time. It is not a contradiction. That's it. No, that's fine. Thank you. Reach out to the left if you want.
Just one announcement, if you haven't signed in, find a clipboard and make sure you sign in and get your email address on it. There's one right there.
Hi, I'm Yael Saar. I'm the founder of the Mama's Comfort Camp, which is a support network for moms of kids of any age, so not just moms of newborns. We have grandmothers and every stage in between, because being a mother doesn't end when the kids sleep through the night. You stop sleeping for other reasons. And just like support for mothers has to be intergenerational, to be effective, to have to really get into your system and stay and resonate and reverberate outward. I think that for our activism to succeed, to take hold, to sprout, root, and grow into trees, we need to have it be intergenerational. I've been in multiple events since recent developments, and they seem to have most people of one kind and just a few of other kinds. I've been trying to organize events where childcare is provided, intergenerational activism work parties, and I would like help in doing that. I think for our activism to be effective, we need to provide childcare, and we need to add another component, which is joyful, something joyful, and nourishment. These kinds of events are only going to work when the angst level is high. But if we are to have something monthly, something bi-weekly, something weekly, it should have childcare, it should have teenagers and grandparents and people who don't have children or whose children are far, far away. They should be working together. Some people will have their laptops and will be writing letters. Others will be writing postcards. Others will be reading stories, and some will be serving soup. I'm not sure what's the best way to get that together. So who's like the email, where should that be? Emails for getting...
I'll put it in the next Progressive newsletter.
Thanks.
Give you your details.
Okay.
We're also writing down the comments.
Yeah.
We have two scribes here.
Thank you.
I want to talk about what we're going to do with them at the end.
Hi, I'm Scott Davis and I live in Canby. I came down this morning with what I thought would be a somewhat novel perspective, but I've heard nothing but that perspective this morning, very happily, so I'll be brief. The Democratic Party has traditionally stood up for minorities and exploited. Well, there's a group that's a minority and they're exploited, and I'd like to consider, this is another window on what's been said, I'd like to consider embracing that group, and that's the Trump voters. Okay? They are for the most part good people who are ignored by the Democrats and Fox News to death. Before long, they're going to feel very confused. If the Democratic Party can figure out how to reach these people, then we can win elections down the road. And it's elections that matter more than anything. I go back to Vietnam, and I can tell you very sadly that being right, you have to be right, but being right is not sufficient to win elections. So I'll leave it there. There's a fabulous article that I read yesterday that was sent to me. And the title of it is called, I really encourage you to Google this, it's called How to Culture Jam a Populist. And it was written by a gentleman from Venezuela. Hey, you could substitute demagogue for populist. It was written by a gentleman from Venezuela who drew very strong parallels between Chavez, who ran the country into the ground, and Trump. And he points out that, and it's what we need to do here, we have to convince Trump voters that their problem is not the, quote, liberals, it's something else. It's a whole network system of connected and wealthy. But that's the group that's exploiting them. The demagoguery of Fox News, and Trump, of course, has convinced them that it's us. It took 10 years in Venezuela for them to figure out how to break through that. We don't have 10 years, I don't think. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Joni, and I'm really nervous. I went to my first march in my true adulthood on Saturday in Washington, D.C. And it was an extraordinary experience and a complete mixed, diverse crowd from all over the country. My son drove up from Daytona Beach with his girlfriend who pushed it, and they were there. I'm really here to keep it short. The last time I was at a demonstration was when Ronald Reagan squashed the Certified Employment Training Act. I don't know if anybody here remembers it, but I got my full training to work with youth in Los Angeles. I worked with youth gangs, and I was trained, and then I was hired to work with Mayor Tom Bradley. And the next day, one day when Ronald Reagan was elected, the doors were shut. And that was the last time I marched. And everything I've heard today is all the things that I won't repeat. I just want to say something about the ban of Syrian Muslims, allowing Christians in and not the Muslims. Being Jewish myself and signing this on Remembrance Day for the Nazis was absolutely heartbreaking. And I'm here to help. Contact me, grab me. I will do whatever needs to be done. I'm on the march, and I'm here to work. I have the time. My kids are grown. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wayne Gustafson. I live in the town of Ithaca, and just for full disclosure, I'm a psychotherapist and a progressive theologian. What I want to talk about is a little more philosophical and a little bit less practical, although there is a practical point to it. I want to talk about the soul of the Democratic Party. And my reason for talking about that is that while expanding rights to more individuals is actually a good thing, there's a reason to do that that's extremely important for us to know and to connect with. And that is that if there is more empowerment across the board, it results in a healthier community. If we are just talking about rights, then we're really talking about expanding the opportunity for people to be greedy in little amounts or in larger amounts, if that's where we stop. But if we talk about rights in the context of community and say what we really want is an environment that's healthy, not just so it will be beautiful, because the environment is what sustains us. It's what keeps us alive. If we're talking about broadening living wage, it's not just so more individuals can buy what they want as individuals. It's so we can be a healthier community. Now, all of you probably know that. My practical point is that I want us to connect the dots between the rights that we fight for and the reason we fight for them is that we want to be a healthy, vibrant, creative, lasting, hopefully, community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leo Vincent. I'm from the city of Ithaca. I just have a few ideas or points, and they're kind of half-formed, I guess. But I'm thinking about how it's going to be difficult to get things done right now. But I'm thinking of the example of gay marriage and how that sort of started state by state, and precedents were made state by state, and then it was able to become national. And I'm thinking about that in terms of a few different things. Someone said earlier, have single payer passed in New York State. That's one really good example, I think. If we can do that, if other states can do that, it builds momentum. I also think the same thing possibly with redistricting. There are states that have nonpartisan or bipartisan commissions to deal with redistricting, to eliminate gerrymandering. It's been done by Democrats and Republicans throughout history. We know that it's at the worst it's ever been now. And state by state, we can build precedents to change how we do that. And maybe we could do that in New York. Even if it isn't as big a problem here as it is other places, we could help build momentum. Another thing I wanted to say was about John Plum. One thing I noticed, and maybe I tried to follow it, but mostly how I was following it was through the internet. And for months and months in advance, there was almost no news about the race. There was no local stories that you could find. There was almost nothing. There was John Plum announces his candidacy, and then the debates were. It seemed to me there was 3 debates in the last 2 weeks. How does anybody gonna get to learn about John Plum and decide that he's a better candidate in that amount of time? I feel like we need to change that process so that, and also the newspaper endorsements all came at the very end as well. John Plum was a great candidate for the reasons people have said, but not enough people maybe knew who he was, and so it's just something to think about as well.
Hi, my name is Jenny Rhodes. I guess one thing I just wanted to come up here and remind everybody of Ithaca about is that in many other races around the state, if I don't know that it was playing on the television in Ithaca, and many people in Ithaca, we watch TV very specifically and don't get all inundated with as many commercials, but throughout the surrounding counties, the opponents were pegged as extreme Ithacan liberals. And they won. And so what does that tell you? That tells you that if no matter what we do here in Ithaca, no matter how beautiful it is and what rights we fight for, as long as we're here and we're talking to each other here and our rallies are here and we're not connecting with people there, like Corning, for example, then I feel like what happens is that we become tighter and more excited about our beliefs, and everybody else just hates us more. I grew up in Corning, and my parents are in Caton, which is just outside of Corning in this tiny little town. And there, they register as Republicans. The Democrats lay low. They register as Republicans to vote in the primaries. Okay, so if you're laying that low, you need support. And so people are not laying low now. I noticed that with the march to DC, I live in Ithaca now, I love you guys, I love it here, but I just was able, through Facebook, to connect the person who was organizing buses in Corning to the person who was organizing in Ithaca simply by sharing a link. And that person personally messaged me and said, oh, thanks, because I had no idea how to set this up. And I was able to contact the admin and do it. And they sent 5 buses from there. 5. That's awesome. And that was small. I didn't cover anything. And we need to do so much more. So much more. We need all of our rallies and our huge events. We can't have them here on the Commons because we're talking to ourselves. They need to be there, and we all need to show up there to support. They don't know our zip code when our body's there, but our zip code can be discounted. The Tom Reed Ithaca office, I never call. 14850, why would he care? He won on a platform that was anti-Ithaca, and he won. So he doesn't care. He's not trying to win us. He's trying to win them, and so we need to win them. That's what
Hi, my name is Jim Gustafson, and I must say this is the first time I've been at a meeting since I was growing up in Jamestown, and somebody else had the same last name that I did. So, and I'm chairman of the Dryden Democrats. And what I really want to talk about specifically is for those who are not familiar, or new faces that are here, and who are not familiar with just how the local committees work and so on. You should know that it's very, very easy to come and join a town committee and a county committee. It's not a hard, difficult process. We don't do an ideological litmus test. We don't ask people whether you voted for Bernie or whether you voted for Hillary. I think at our meeting on Thursday, we seated how many new members? Maybe 10, 12? More than 10, maybe
It's like
15?
13.
Yeah, right. So we've had just in the Dryden Committee, something like 6 new people joined since the election. And it's important, as has been mentioned by other speakers, to remember that the local elections, starting at the school board and the village trustees' offices and the town offices and so on, that's what the other side has been very effective at over the last 10 to 15 years. The Koch brothers and other people on the right have funded the activities that have led to the loss of, I think it's something like, 900 seats at state legislature, or to 9,000. Some outrageous number of seats that we've lost over the last 10 years at the state legislative level. Well, the candidates that run for state legislature and so on percolate up from the town boards and from the county legislative seats and so on. So we need to build our committees here in Ithaca where we are strong. And I also want to reinforce or support the spirit that's been expressed in the last speaker and several other speakers, that we need to be reaching out across our particular congressional district, where we'd all like to see Mr. Reed become history. And we need to reach out to the Trump voters, because the white working class voters, who was very easy for us to dismiss, for all the reasons that we like to dismiss them, they are good people. I'm good friends with them up in the country, and their interests really are our interests as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Conchetta Lapergola, and I will be very brief because I'm not super prepared. I just wanted to make 2 very quick points that have been sort of echoed a little bit today. I grew up in an immigrant family, and I'm not going to pretend I'm one of the immigrants that have targets on their backs, because we're white and we're from Italy. And that's the reality, is that nobody's looking at us. But I have, over the years that my parents have lived here, watched them be infantilized and talked down to, because the minute they open their mouths and an accent comes out, people assume that they're not educated. So my first point is that we need to make sure that the immigrants in our communities, not just in Ithaca, but outside of Ithaca, that I'm sure work in some of the farming towns, feel like they're part of this process and like they're a part of this country, because immigrants built this country. We all came from immigrants. So that's my first point. My second point, and just I'll be concise here as well, is somebody also mentioned reaching out to religious communities. I grew up, obviously, in a family of Catholics, but for conciseness, I will say that we're definitely Pope Francis Catholics. We're all registered Democrats. said, there are lots of people that are like me, or that maybe are not Christian, but come from another religious background, that also feel excluded from this process. And we need to reach out to them and have them recognize that a lot of the democratic ideals that we have also apply to their religious beliefs. And in that way, hopefully, we'll have a more inclusive group here, consistent of religious people, immigrants, and minorities that otherwise are not heard. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nancy Kane. I'm from Brookton-Dale. Brothers and sisters, this is our moment. I stood on the corner last week at the march, waving my freak flag, and I saw wave after wave after wave of people walk by. Dogs, no cats, boys, girls, men, women, all stripes, all kinds, and I was overwhelmed. I wish I'd been in Washington, but by the time I found out about the buses going, there were no more seats left. Let's act, react, and resist. By acting, I want to know that the Tompkins Democrats will have buses ready to go to the marches to support science.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to have lived through the civil rights movement and Roe v. Wade, and, of course, more recently, gay marriage. I'm not going back on any of those issues, and I hope you're with me. To that end, when I say act, I want you to act locally. Support Svante Myrick's commitment to making Ithaca a sanctuary city. Support local Planned Parenthood, providing health services for men and women. And I don't know about you, but every time, and I listen to a lot of conservative talk radio, I am tired of being told what I stand for and what I believe in.
Yes.
I'm coming from a place of union membership and a family of military veterans, and as a proud liberal, I don't want to be pigeonholed. My husband and I started an organization that serves veterans. Liberals don't hate veterans. Liberals don't hate America. We love America. So, resist, react, act. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here today.
My name is Liz. I'm also a Pope Francis Catholic. I've been that from now on. And I'm very nervous, but I just want to tell you two things. I'm going to try to tell you fast. After the election, I was distraught. I was like, this is it. I gotta stop arguing on Facebook. I gotta do stuff. So I'm from Lansing, so I am going to join the Democratic Party. So I was already registered, but so I got on the website, like, there's going to be a place that tells me, here is what you do. And I mean this with love. The website sucks. I'm sorry that I have to say that to you, but I also want to point out that people my age are trying. I've got 2 little kids and a husband who works 2 nights a week, and the town of Lansing Democratic Committee, I love you, you're so welcoming to me. It's very hard for me to get there because my kids go to bed at 7. So I was also in DC last weekend, and I want to tell you that the reason that was so awesome and so easy and so successful is that Shauna, Laura, and Aaron, yes, give them a shout out. It was all on Facebook. I never met any of those people in my life till I was on the bus with them. It was so easy. So I think that I agree with what I think Martha said before, 21st century, we are here, but we need you to kind of meet us in the middle somewhere. So our internet presence and our social media really has to change, and we are willing to give you so much, but please just know that just because we're young and new doesn't mean that we don't want to help you. It means that we have our hands in everything, and we're trying to do the best at all of the things. That's all.
I am amazed at what I see here.
My name is John Frazier. I'm a council member of the town of Caroline and the chair of the Caroline Democratic Committee. Thank you everyone for being here. I have to tell you, I haven't heard this expressed yet, but I am, pissed off. Is anyone else pissed off?
Oh, yes.
I'm pissed off because on January 20th, I stepped out of the progressive 21st century and went back to Germany in 1933. I don't mean to be overdramatic, but I feel that with a minority vote, we elected our first fascist government, and we need to understand this. And this happened for a number of reasons, in my view. First, Reaganomics. We are seeing the fruit of 40 years of austerity, of trickle-down economics that did not trickle down money on us. It trickled down something else, but it wasn't money, is it?
It's not bad in Russia.
Yeah. We have allowed the message to be controlled for years. We need to define our message. We've allowed them to divide us. Economic justice is at the root of all of it. That's why we lost most of the Trump voters. It's economic justice. We need to be able to capture that message. We need to be able to define it simply, emotionally. We need to tell our authentic stories. I have a friend who is dying of cancer, and the Affordable Care Act is literally saving her life, extending her life. We need to tell these stories. It's the only way we're going to reach the heart. It's the only way we're going to make change. We need to call our representatives, Schumer, Gillibrand, Reid, Barbara Lifton. They all need to hear where we stand, whether they're on our team or the other team. They need to hear our stories. They need to hear them daily. We need to fight for local government rights. We need to push against unfunded state mandates.
10 seconds.
Okay. But we have to act. We have to refine our message. Social media is right on, Irene. We've got to do it. And that's what I have to say. Stay strong.
I am Randy Patterson, and I want to emphasize or just underscore something that's been said, but I think kind of keeps falling to the back, which is that we look at the room and feel like we want a more diverse room, but I think there are things involved with having a more diverse room. I think we have to keep some of the issues that matter and are really in the forefront for people of color on the agenda. I know we want to do outreach to Trump voters, and that's great, but we also have to be willing to say Black Lives Matter, recognize healthcare disparities. We have to be willing to look at mass incarceration of people of color and not just put that under all the stuff that we think is going to be more populist. Because these are really important voters too. I mean, maybe we don't see them here. Maybe we would see more of them here if we were willing to say some of these things. And again, I know a lot of people think this and have kind of referenced it, but I don't want it to fall off. Anything else there? I think that's it. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Kovalevsky. I'm the president of the Cornell Democrats and the College Democrats. The events of the last few months have compelled my generation to action. Donald Trump is not the president we voted for, and this is not the country we want. And I just want to say that college students and young people have so much to offer the Democratic Party, including right here in Tompkins County. I am thankful for the support of the TCDC, and I'm proud of how the Cornell Democrats coordinated with the party and campaigns during the last election. We knocked on doors, we made phone calls, and with drivers from the community, we drove hundreds of students to the polls who wouldn't have otherwise made it. We need to keep this going. I will fight my hardest to make sure we are organized at Cornell's campus, but that's not enough. We need a College Democrats chapter at Ithaca College and TC3 too. However, we also need the Tompkins County community to meet us halfway. We need the community to listen to and reach out to students. And there are many issues where we can work together. College students are deeply concerned by setbacks in gender equality and horrified by attacks on Muslims. We care about fair wages and protecting the ACA. We oppose an administration that threatens our fellow students, and we will not accept a government that refuses to acknowledge the existence of climate change. And these are national issues, but this is the type of organization that builds bonds between students and the community. These are bonds that bring students as volunteers, going door to door, and bonds that bring students into the voting booth in local and midterm elections. Young people and college students are not the future of the Democratic Party. We are the present.
Hello, my name is Ethan Ash from Ellis Hollow. I have 3 kids under the age of 8, and I am not retired. And I have a wonderful wife who is watching all 3 kids and texting me while I'm in line. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't be able to attend the committee meetings and other issues I've been involved with since Trump was elected. But there is nothing more important for me, and there's nothing more important for other people that I know that are my age, that are my generation, especially parents that are out there that we've heard from that have young kids. Since the election, I joined the Dryden Committee and the Tompkins County Committee, and I signed up for a committee to raise funds for Planned Parenthood. I don't have a lot of time, but to me those were 3 steps that I could take to make a difference. And that's all I can do right now, is try to take some steps to make a difference, because otherwise I'll, like many people in this room, just go into a cycle of I don't know, depression and sadness and anger. And I posted a simple thing on Facebook about a week ago. I said, I don't want to hear anymore from my friends about what's happening to us. I want to hear what we're doing.
Yes.
And I want to hear what action other people are taking, because I know you're taking action. And if you're not taking action, I want to hear what action you're going to take. Because if you care, and if all of this matters to you, then tell me what you're doing. And I got about 50 replies within a week of what people that I know that are young and have kids and have families are doing. And they're doing a lot, but they're also not sure where to focus their anger and their attention. And the one thing I'm requesting out of this meeting, we have a wonderful communications organizer in Kathy Zeller. I don't know where she is. She's probably writing something right now. But Kathy sent out an email of all of the different links to Facebook pages and websites that she posts on for issues related to Democrats and progressives. And we've heard from 5 or 6 different people in this room about blogs or websites or Facebook pages that they run. We are a community. We all are in this room because we care. We need to consolidate that. We need to give Kathy Zeller one place to focus her energy as much as possible, and where other people in this room can look to take action. We can do this, we can organize, but let's figure out of this meeting what that central communication place will be. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Marty Hiller. I live in Fall Creek. And I want to echo the statement about economic justice. The economic disparity in this country has been skyrocketing, and it's been happening my entire adult life. The Democrats have been no more effective than anybody else at addressing that issue, and it's destroying us. And we really need to focus our attention on that. You know, equality is not enough. Human rights are not enough. If we are all equally impoverished, if we're all equally desperate, that's not enough. We need to have opportunities. We need to have the ability to move ahead and not just be all at the same level of desperation. And I think if we can't address that issue, what else can we do? I also want to echo the importance of the new Jim Crow. If we disguise racism as criminalism, it's still racism. And we need to address that issue. We need to address mass incarceration. We need to stop targeting communities of color in that way. I had something else, but I've lost it, so I'm going to stop.
Hi, my name is Franz Sugarman. I live in Trumansburg. I don't do a lot. I listen to far too much news for my own sanity, and I listen to myself talk. The main reason I wanted to get up is I've heard a lot of people talk about election integrity today. I never heard the specific phrase interstate cross-check. How many people here have heard of that? I urge you to look up Greg Palast's website, gregpalast.com, or Trump Stole It on Twitter. That was not an election in November, in my opinion. That was a coup. And something that really bothers me, even on Progressive Talk, is for a while I was hearing about interstate cross-check. I'm just talking specifically about Stephanie Miller, a show I love, but bugs me because of its lack of nuance. But suddenly it shifted to Russia, Russia, Russia. You know, and maybe they did something bad, maybe not. But interstate cross-check is the biggest single reason, at least in my opinion, that Trump succeeded in overthrowing our government. The Republicans really succeeded in overthrowing our government. I don't agree with personalizing. It's not about Trump, it's about the Republicans. Just to get, the main thing is look up interstate cross-check. It is the biggest single reason they were able to leverage this.
Hi, I'm Irene Weiser. I lived in Brookendale. I'm a town board member in the town of Caroline. Many of you probably also recognize me for some of the environmental activism that I've done over the past few years. I want to suggest something that I haven't heard yet today, and that is everybody's talked about call our legislators, push our legislators. I want to say become our legislators. Run for office. Get involved. That's, we're not happy with the policies, get in the seats where you can make the policies. And I especially want to talk to the white people in this room, the women in this room, the people of color in this room. We all have different levels of ability to get there. And so for people of financial means, support other people, support their campaigns, support the campaigns of people of color, get to know the people of color, get to know the women who are running for office, support them. We don't have the networks necessarily that people in business, that men who have different kinds of networks, and we were fortunate in this town. I was incredibly fortunate for the kind of support that came out from my campaign. But if we want to see change in our local legislatures and our town legislatures, we've got to get the people in there who have differing viewpoints and can bring the change that we want to see. And we have to support them being there. The first step to doing that is inviting people to do it. Most people think, I don't know how, I don't know what's involved, I don't know how to do it, I can't do it, I'm not good enough. Everybody is good enough. Nobody knows how. I can testify to that more than anybody. I jumped in because it mattered and somebody needed to do it. And you know what? You've heard that expression, jump and grow your rings on the way down. We all can do that. Throw your hat over the wall, jump big. We need people to jump big, do it, and support people, invite people that you see that show leadership potential, that have the kind of viewpoints that you want to support that aren't being heard, and support them getting there. I also just want to tag on one other piece. It's time? Okay, all right then, I won't tag on another piece.
I'm Mike Koplinka-Loehr from Lansing. I want to piggyback on what Irene just said. I'll just give you a tiny anecdote. The reason I eventually got involved in elected office was someone invited me. I was registering my kids for school down at the Ithaca School Board, and there was a lot of challenges happening on the Ithaca School Board back in the Alan Lambert days, and someone said, Mike, you should run. I had never thought about it. As a matter of fact, as a teenager, I said, I will never run because of the ugliness of it all. And I did run, and I really am pleased that I've been able to contribute to the community in lots of ways. I have three things I want to say. One is regarding staying power. This is amazing, the turnout here. The marches have been amazing. We all need to stay in and stay long. One of the things that I think undermines staying power is sometimes we subtly attack each other. When someone is in a legislative role or some sort of elected official role, we'll send these subtle darts. I would ask instead to say, I'd like to hear your thinking about that, as opposed to, you are off base and here's the right answer. A second thing I wanted to point out, particularly around the diversity issue, is we have a hidden gem in this community. Many people may know about it, but Kirby Edmonds runs an organization called Building Bridges. Building Bridges has been working, yes, give it up for Kirby, because this has been going on, I think, close to 7 years, maybe you can tell me how much longer, but it has been building this network of community. It has been building something called collective impact. What are our collective goals across all kinds of differences? And one of the key ones is anti-poverty in this community. So get involved, find out about Building Bridges, and stay involved. Finally, I would enjoin people to consider a very mundane, very thankless but important task. Get phone numbers and get email addresses. Whenever you're talking to a neighbor who sounds like they're nodding their head, they're interested, talking to, if you're going door to door, our lists are incredibly poor. I've called probably for 20 years to get out the vote, and on a page of 26 phone numbers, probably one actually is good and gets through. We need to get really good phone numbers, we need to get really good emails so we can keep in touch with people across the years. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Postgate. I'm a mom of 3 kids under 10 and a teacher in Trumansburg. I live here in the city of Ithaca. And before I read my little blurb, I want to echo the request to make meetings and things more family friendly. If you can't move it a half hour earlier and provide pizza, then live stream it or Skype. I know there's amazing facilities online to have meetings via the internet, so please make them more friendly to moms and dads who have little kids who have to go to bed by 8. But I am very new to all of this, but I'm eager to act, to show up, to knock on doors and make phone calls. And if that means going to Elmira and Corning and Jamestown like people have suggested, I'm very happy to try to do that too. And so many others are right now as well. I want to repeat the first young mom who spoke and ask for direction and a task to do. Please, please, please take advantage of this energy and willingness to help. When I marched in Ithaca a week ago, I carried a sign that said unity. I hope that the Democratic Party, which has years and experience, will reach out to the Working Families Party, the Green Party, the Independent Party, and work together to get elected officials who are honest for the people and share our values. Even though there is no actionable verb in we are in fact stronger together. Please continue to have learning sessions like you had about the ACA. As newbies, we don't know what to do, although I've learned a lot today and now I know what I should do next about the process and how to help. So thank you so much for being here before it was cool. And good luck, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Abelard. I'm really humbled by how many of you all are here today. I was just seated to the Tompkins County Democrat organization Thursday. After years of thinking I should do more, there you go. One step I've taken is I teach at Ithaca College, and I've been talking to Colby DeBoule, who's over there, and we're going to start up the Ithaca the College Democrats up on campus. And so right after, we're all going out for coffee or tacos, I don't know what, to talk about the next step. So that's one thing. Also, I'm speaking on behalf of a friend, Chris Sinton, who lives in the town of Ithaca, who wanted to share an observation about the need to do more effective fundraising. And that there's a lot of potential donors in Tompkins County that we need to really target and sort of locate and encourage them to help. And that's it. I'll make it short. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lorien Hayden, and I did not come prepared to speak, but there is one thing in our community that is currently happening, and I thought I thought I should share it with you all. So I heard several people mention the new Jim Crow. Actually, currently in Tompkins County, what they are doing is they're hosting a study to do another jail expansion, this one $19 to $20 million. So I would encourage anyone to go to our legislature meetings, go to the Common Council, and speak on this issue. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bill Podolka. I live in the town of Caroline. I just wanted to hit on a couple of things I've heard tonight to sort of emphasize them. I think they're really important points. The first one is working for voting rights. I really hope the Democratic Party takes this up strongly. Frankly, the Democratic establishment has been totally ineffective at combating the type of voter purges and restriction of voting rights. And that's really led to basically a corrupt system in which basically elections are not about just having ideas compete and getting votes. It's about cheating and winning any way you can. And this sort of shows how bankrupt the ideas of the opponents are. They feel they have to steal the election. The other thing I do want to talk about is the forging of a new, which is really an old coalition of economic justice, environmental justice, environmental protection, workers' rights, minority rights, that includes LGBTQA. This is indeed where we need to go. The Democratic Party has moved to the right, hoping to capture the center, and instead they were captured by corporate interests. That's what needs to change. So get involved with your local Democratic Party, because the leadership will reflect those of you who show up to the meetings.
Hello, folks. My name is Chuck Geisler. I'm from the town of Dryden. I'm actually 20 years old, and I dyed my hair white so that I could empathize with the audience. I think everybody who's come up today has really wanted to endorse exactly the things that were said by the previous speaker. I certainly want to do that. Collecting a few thoughts of how we might not only maintain a very special community and community energy right now locally, but also at the state level. I want to just go back to the list of half-baked ideas and bake in the idea of really pushing New York to be a sanctuary state. Yeah. Think about this is the state that banned fracking. We have special taxation to pay for our health care. We have a governor with attitude, not always the right attitude, but there's a lot that this would do for us, including the reaching out to other communities around the state. If we made this a serious idea, it would force us out onto the landscape. We'd learn a lot, we'd listen a lot, we'd link up with a lot of people who we thought we might have been opposed to, but are actually our allies. So thanks, let's consider that.
So, I guess it's me. Hello everyone, my name is Constance Allen. I live in Newfield. Does anybody else live in Newfield here? Because I will be trying to help in the Newfield area for the elections. I marched in my first march ever. I'm 68, here in Ithaca. And one thing I want to say was I was so impressed by the police department. I mean, they were amazing. I want everyone to know how gracious they were and how they just helped so many people. It gave me a new look at the police department. And also, I don't make $15 an hour, and I have a very difficult job. I won't mention where I work, because I don't want any kind of repercussions. And I'll say one more thing. The squeaky wheel gets the most attention. Thank you.
Hi all, my name is Ivy Green. I'm also from the Cornell Dems. I'm from San Diego, but I've had a wonderful last 4 years here in Ithaca, and I'm really thankful for this community. Kevin already touched upon a lot of the things that the students care about. The only thing I don't know if you mentioned, was affordable education. We really care about that too. I'm unbelievably grateful to have a really generous financial aid packet. My family had a lot of financial insecurity to earn that packet, but I know a lot of friends who are worried about debt, that kind of thing. I just wanted to share a quick personal story. So I'm from San Diego. I have friends who lived across the border because they couldn't afford to live in San Diego. I have friends who get their dental work done in Tijuana because they can't afford it there. I come from a mixed race household. My mom is from India. My dad is Catholic conservative, unfortunately not the Pope Francis kind at first. I just wanted to say that I've had a really interesting experience growing up. My mom, I know I look white, but my mom does not, obviously, and when she was a freshman in high school, people were telling her during the Iranian hostage crisis to go back there, and she was like, not even from there, and I also grew up in Canada for a bit, so, it's very interesting. I know I have a lot of privilege, but I've seen the other side of that, and recently my dad came home after 2 months of a hospitalization, near-death experience, and if it weren't for my mom's amazing health insurance as a public school teacher, he would have died. There's no way we could have afforded the ambulance, let alone his 10+ surgeries. Like, there's absolutely no way. And because of that, he's spoken to me and he said, I didn't realize how important healthcare access was. He was privileged to get to go to an amazing physical therapy center that so many people were denied access to because they couldn't afford it. And so I would just like to urge all of you to speak out to people who might have been lifelong conservatives like my father, or like my mom, who only became a citizen in 2003, who weren't always involved in the political system. Talk to them, open up that dialogue. I know my parents and I haven't always agreed politically, but we're finding common ground now, and I think that's what we should all be doing with our families, our neighbors, our friends. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Do you want to hear from an establishment? Am I an establishment?
Yes,
I thought maybe people don't want to hear from me.
And you're always here for us. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Chris. I'll start with a confession. I'm a recovering Catholic, but I do love Pope Francis very much. I could talk for an hour, and obviously we need other venues to sit and have much longer discussions about many of these issues. I agree with much of what's been said. I disagree a little bit with a few items. I take issue with a little bit. That I won't get into this morning. But I do want to talk quickly on a couple of big points. One is the ACA and Tom Reed. You may know I wrote a letter to Tom Reed. I put it out last week, urging, giving the numbers, 8,000 people in Tompkins County will lose their health insurance if this is repealed without a meaningful replacement, which I don't think is possible from that side of the aisle. And also our hospital will lose $3.4 million every year. Our county will lose $1 million every year. And there's so much more involved than even just the numbers of people. There's the whole healthcare restructuring that's going on. People, they have no idea apparently. But many people are letting them know, including our healthcare providers, which is great. And so I sent my letter to Congressman Reed, telling him of my great concern, CCing our senators and so on. And actually got a call from Tom Reed's office the other day asking me to be part of a conference call yesterday morning at 8 o'clock. Wow. So it was me and my 4 or 5 Republican Assembly colleagues and Tom Reed on the phone yesterday morning. And I would tell people, it was a very interesting call, tell you a little bit, but I would urge people not to give up on talking to Tom Reed and pushing on the ACA. They are extremely nervous. They know they don't have a replacement plan. And I don't know, am I the only one that saw that Pew poll that said 20% or 80% of Trump voters are on the ACA? I saw that and then I haven't been able to find it again. I think it was on Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes. That's kind of where I get most of my news. And so I mentioned that to my Republican colleagues on the phone the other day, that they were talking about Democrats being unhappy. I said, well, I think you're going to find a lot of your voters are pretty unhappy when they lose their health insurance. But I am worried. You've already heard all the rumors about what they're talking about. They're talking about health savings accounts, tax credits, a health savings account. I said, I don't think they work. Not an expert here, but I don't think they work. I think you're going to have a problem. But the other thing that makes me very nervous. One of the messages I've heard here is take over local mandates. I've been on the bill in the Assembly. I've fought and talked about Medicaid takeover by the state. We should do it. It's a $7 billion price tag for the state of New York, for the state to take that over. I'd be in favor of an upper end tax. In fact, the Assembly's arguing for very much an upper end increase in upper end taxes this year. The Assembly Democrats.
That's time. Go fast. I said that's time. Go fast.
So, but they may do something very, very cynical. You know, I said at the rally next week, they use a divide and conquer strategy. And they know the pressure local governments are under. And they may be saying in New York, especially part of this plan could be, we'll take over the Medicaid burden in upstate counties only, counties outside New York City. Upstate and Long Island, and we won't take it over in New York City. That's a $2 billion price tag instead of a $7 billion price tag. New York City is $5 billion in the local Medicaid share. So they may do a divide and conquer strategy in New York, and I hope very, very much that we don't think that's a good solution, that we're going to treat people in the state of New York differently in terms of how the federal government would deal with the Medicaid expansion issue and the Medicaid issue. But I do think he's very influenceable. It's true, and the Assembly has passed single-payer health care. We have passed it. I voted for him. I'm a co-sponsor of it. But we don't have a Senate right now that'll do it. But I think you should be talking to those people, and of course the IDC people that are keeping the GOP, those Democrats that are keeping the GOP in power in Albany, in the Senate. One other quick point. I've also been working on the voter cross-check issue for many months. Been working directly with Greg Pallas, the journalist that I read back in 2000 after the Florida thing. And he's given me the lists on the voter cross-check. I wrote a letter to the Justice Department right after the election calling for a recount. You may have seen that letter as well, calling for a forensic audit of our elections. Based on in part on the voter cross-check problem. I haven't been able to get verification that they're actually purging people. Let me just, a quick thing, really important thing. So New York was actually participating in this. They were doing a trial run, nobody knew about it, I didn't know about it. Our Board of Elections, bipartisan group, was doing a trial run on cross-check. And I was getting information, I'm like, really, we are? So I started looking into it, and very quickly got an answer, yep, they're doing a trial run, nothing's happened on it, nobody's been purged, but they were participating. And anyway, I wrote a letter, screamed and yelled, sent it to Albany, and I got word yesterday that we're not going to be participating in voter cross-check anymore. So New York State's voter list will not be going to Krys Cail back in Kansas. But I do think there's a really important issue there that we need to investigate, keep working on. I'd love some help with that, because it's kind of takes some research and a lot of work to figure out what's actually happening in other states. I haven't been able to find out. So very important issue, lots of important issues, and I think we need a meeting where people can actually break down in groups and work and figure out what everybody's doing and participate in what other people are doing. I think it'll help with the fragmentation that people are feeling. Thank you.
I'm Marcy Rosenkrantz, and I'm Vice Chair of the Tompkins County Democratic Committee, and I'm Secretary of the Lansing Democratic Committee. I want to reiterate and give you something to do in the remaining few minutes that we have. Would all the people here who are members of the Democratic Committee or a local town committee please raise your hands? Okay, there are plenty of people here to talk to and give your email address to, and a usable telephone number. And I want to reiterate what somebody said before. I do calling for getting out the vote, and I can't tell you how many numbers I don't have. The reason for that is that when you first registered, you wrote down a telephone number. Now you have a cell phone. You don't have a landline. We do not get those from the Board of Elections if we don't have them. So give somebody who is a member of your local committee your name, address, telephone number, and email address, please. And you can do that when we break up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. I want to thank you all very much for coming. This has been a great listening session, but it's pretty useless if it ends here. So what are we going to do with all these comments? Did they go up
into some ears and into the air. No. We have a group headed by Kathy Zoller. We're going to take all your comments. And by the way, thank you, Ted, for videotaping this event. And we're going to categorize them. And then we're going to establish a committee that you can think of, I think of, as a political action committee, as Linda Hoffman suggested, and try to define practical steps that can be done. We should have every email from every room, every person in this room. There are lists. Kathy, where are they?
There's one over here.
I'm starting one, Irene.
Okay, we want, if we already haven't signed up and we don't have your email already, we must have it. Otherwise, you really wasted your morning insofar as what you personally can bring to this. Don't think that there is nothing you as an individual have a particular talent. Everyone can do the kind of work that's needed at many, many levels. So again, thank you for coming. Now, two more things. One is another set of thank yous. Thank you to Kathy Zoller, to Marcy Rosenkrantz, to Laura Lewis, to Lori Gardner. This is always hard when you don't have it written down. To Krys Cail, to Kirby Edmonds, all of whom made this event the success it is. Now finally, one of the things that Laura Lewis did was put together some mild refreshments in the back of the room where you could take the last 4 minutes to avail yourselves of them and to chat among yourselves. You have been great, and because you've been great, we're going to make a great effort that's going to be very successful in the short and if not the long run. Thank you.